My father left me just £1 in his will. My older brother stood up, smiled, and slowly held up a single £1 coin in front of everyone. Looks like Dad finally told the truth about what you were worth. He laughed, as the entire room burst into awkward laughter. I stared at the lawyer, expecting him to correct the mistake. But instead, he quietly closed the will and whispered, "Mr. Carter, your father left strict instructions. No one leaves this room believing they've won. Come back in exactly 72 hours. My brother had no idea that our father had spent the last 6 months secretly recording every lie, every forged signature, and every penny stolen from the family business. 72 hours later, that same laughter would turn into handcuffs. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 30 years old, and until that afternoon, I believed my father hated me. Growing up in Manchester, England, my father, Richard Carter, was known as one of the toughest businessmen in the city. He built Carter Construction from a tiny garage company into a multi-million-pound business that employed over 300 people. To the outside world, he was respected. At home, he was distant, strict, and impossible to please. My older brother Daniel, who was 35, was always the favorite. Dad took him to business meetings, taught him about investments, introduced him to powerful people, and proudly called him the future of this family. Me? I became a paramedic because I wanted to save lives instead of chasing money. Dad never understood that decision. Every family dinner ended with the same sentence: "You'll never build a real legacy driving ambulances." My mother, Emily, always defended me, but after she passed away from breast cancer 5 years earlier, the house became colder than ever. Daniel's wife, Sophie, quickly stepped into Mum's place at family gatherings. But unlike Mum, she never tried to bring the family together. She constantly whispered into Daniel's ear, telling him he deserved everything because he had sacrificed his life for the business, while I had chosen the easy path. During the last year of Dad's life, something changed. He became quieter. He stopped trusting people so easily. Several times I caught him staring at financial reports late at night with a worried expression. Whenever I asked if everything was all right, he forced a smile and simply said, "Some storms have to pass before the sun comes back." I thought he was talking about his failing health. I never imagined he was talking about his own family. 3 weeks before he died, Dad unexpectedly called me to his office after midnight. The building was almost empty except for the security guard downstairs. He handed me an old silver pocket watch that had belonged to my grandfather. "Keep this safe," he said. "One day, it'll remind you that time always exposes the truth." Before I could ask what he meant, Daniel walked into the office. Dad instantly changed the subject and told me to go home. Daniel looked strangely nervous, almost angry that we'd been talking alone. As I walked toward the lift, I glanced back and saw them arguing through the glass wall. Daniel slammed a folder onto Dad's desk, while Dad pointed toward the door, with disappointment written all over his face. The next morning, Dad acted as if nothing had happened. 2 weeks later, he suffered what everyone believed was a sudden heart attack. At the funeral, hundreds of people came to honor him. Politicians, police officers, business leaders, old employees. They all praised his honesty and generosity. Daniel stood beside the coffin, shaking hands like he'd already become the new king of the Carter family. Sophie cried in front of everyone, yet somehow managed to remind every guest that Daniel would now be running the company. I noticed something else. Dad's personal lawyer, Mr. William Foster, barely spoke to anyone. He simply watched Daniel the entire day with the expression of a man carrying a dangerous secret. I didn't understand it then, but 3 days later, everything would begin to make sense. Exactly 72 hours later, I walked back into Mr. Foster's office expecting nothing more than closure. Daniel was already sitting there with Sophie beside him, both smiling with the confidence of people who believed the future already belonged to them. Daniel tapped the folder containing the will and smirked, still hoping the lawyer found another £1,000,000 hidden somewhere. Sophie laughed softly. "Honestly, Ethan, You should just accept that your father finally showed everyone who he truly trusted." I stayed silent. Something about Mr. Foster's calm expression told me this meeting wasn't over yet. He locked the conference room door, placed a thick black envelope on the table, and slowly said, "Richard Carter left one final instruction. This envelope could only be opened exactly 72 hours after the reading of the will, and only if both sons were present." Daniel leaned back confidently. "Let's get this over with." Mr. Foster carefully broke the wax seal and unfolded a handwritten letter. The room became completely silent. "To my sons, if you're hearing this, then my final test has already begun. Ethan, if you are confused about receiving only £1, know this. I never stopped loving you. The £1 was never your inheritance. It was a key." Daniel's smile disappeared instantly. Mr. Foster continued reading. "Daniel, if you're sitting there believing you've won everything, then you've already failed the last lesson I tried to teach you." Sophie suddenly shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Mr. Foster reached inside the envelope again and removed a small brass key attached to a red tag. On it were only 4 words: "Private Vault 17. "Richard instructed me," Mr. Foster explained, "that this key must only be given to Ethan Carter." Daniel slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. Whatever is inside belongs to the family." Mr. Foster ignored him. "Richard also instructed me to play a video before anyone leaves this room." He switched on a large television mounted on the wall. The screen lit up, showing my father sitting alone inside his office just 3 months before his death. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharper than I'd ever seen them. "If you're watching this," Dad began, "then someone I trusted has betrayed me." My heart stopped. Dad continued calmly. "For the last 8 months, money has been disappearing from Carter Construction. Contracts have been altered. Signatures have been forged. Someone has been stealing from the company I spent 40 years building." Daniel immediately stood up. "This is insane. Someone manipulated this video." Mr. Foster calmly pressed pause and slid another folder across the table. Inside were dozens of bank statements, copies of contracts, and forensic handwriting reports. Every forged signature matched one person: Daniel Carter. Sophie's face turned white. Daniel grabbed the papers with shaking hands. "These are fake," he shouted. Mr. Foster looked directly into his eyes. Richard anticipated that response. That's why he hired 3 independent forensic accountants and 2 handwriting experts before he passed away. Then Dad's video resumed. "Daniel, if you're denying this right now, you're proving exactly why I couldn't leave this company in your hands. I gave you countless opportunities to tell me the truth. Instead, you stole from your own family. I couldn't breathe. The brother I'd spent my whole life trying to impress had been secretly robbing the company while making me believe Dad hated me." But then Dad looked directly into the camera again. "Ethan, there is something even bigger inside Vault 17. Something Daniel doesn't know exists. And once you open it, everything you believe about this family will change forever." Mr. Foster slowly placed the brass key into my hand. "Richard specifically instructed that only Ethan may open the vault." Daniel suddenly lunged across the table trying to snatch the key from my hand. But before he could touch it, 2 private security officers opened the conference room door. "Mr. Daniel Carter," one of them said firmly, "you're no longer authorized to enter any Carter Construction property until this investigation is complete." Daniel froze. For the first time in his life, fear replaced arrogance. And as I looked down at the small brass key resting in my palm, I realized my father hadn't left me £1. He'd left me the truth, and whatever waited inside Vault 17 was about to destroy every lie my brother had spent years building. My hands were trembling as I walked into the private vault beneath Foster and Associates Bank. Vault 17 looked ordinary from the outside, but the moment I inserted the brass key, the heavy steel door clicked open with a sound that seemed to echo through my entire life. Inside wasn't piles of cash or expensive jewelry. Instead, there were neatly organized boxes, hard drives, notebooks, sealed evidence bags. and one final envelope with my name written in my father's handwriting. I opened the letter first. Ethan, if you're reading this, then you've proven something your brother never could. You chose patience over greed. That's why everything inside this vault now belongs to you. My eyes filled with tears. Dad had never hated me. He had been protecting me. Under the letter was a USB drive labeled insurance policy. Mr. Foster plugged it into his laptop. Hundreds of hidden security recordings appeared on the screen. Every meeting inside Dad's office during the last year had been secretly recorded. Video after video showed Daniel forging signatures, changing invoices, transferring company money into shell accounts, and even arguing with Sophie about how quickly they needed to finish the old man before he changed the will again. One recording made the room completely silent. Sophie looked directly at Daniel and laughed. Your father is getting weaker every week. Once we control his accounts, Ethan won't get anything. He'll believe your father never loved him. Daniel nodded without hesitation. Good. He's too soft to fight back anyway. My chest tightened. Every family dinner, every insult, every cold look suddenly made sense. They weren't accidents. They were part of a plan that had been unfolding for over a year. Then Mr. Foster opened one final folder, marked Final Ownership Transfer. Richard Carter legally transferred 100% ownership of Carter Construction into a protected trust 8 months before his death, he explained. Daniel believed he inherited the company, but legally, he inherited nothing except temporary management authority. The real owner was always Ethan Carter. Daniel's face turned completely pale. No, that's impossible, he shouted as police officers entered the conference room carrying arrest warrants. Detective Laura Bennett stepped forward calmly. Daniel Carter, Sophie Carter, you're under arrest for corporate fraud, financial theft, conspiracy, forgery, and attempted elder financial exploitation. Sophie burst into tears. Daniel looked at me with pure hatred. You planned this. I slowly shook my head. No, Dad did. As officers placed handcuffs on both of them, Daniel suddenly begged, Ethan, please, we're brothers. For a moment, I remembered the little boy who used to ride bicycles with me. Then I remembered every lie, every stolen pound, every attempt to erase me from my own family. Brothers don't destroy each other's lives for money, I replied quietly. 6 months later, Carter Construction had become stronger than ever. Instead of firing loyal employees to increase profits, I raised wages, reopened apprenticeship programs, and created a scholarship in my mother's name for young paramedics across England. The newspapers called it the Carter Redemption. People believed I had won because I became wealthy. They were wrong. I won because my father gave me something far more valuable than money. He proved that character always outlives greed. Before leaving the vault, I found one last message written inside the old pocket watch he'd given me weeks before he died. Tiny engraved words read, "The greatest inheritance isn't wealth. It's knowing who deserves your trust." I still carry that watch every single day. Sometimes people ask if I ever forgave my brother. The answer is simple. Forgiveness doesn't mean inviting betrayal back into your life. It means refusing to let someone else's greed steal your peace forever. If my story teaches you anything, let it be this. Never measure your worth by what someone leaves you in a will. Sometimes the smallest gift is only the first page of a much bigger truth. And sometimes justice is simply patience, wearing a disguise until the perfect moment arrives.